Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Taylor's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody, welcome aboard. Glad to have you on this Wednesday. We've made it to the halfway point of the week. Hope you're doing just fine. And we appreciate you being with us. Thank you for joining us, no matter where or how you're listening. We appreciate you. And whether it's on one of our great radio station affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref in Evansville, always the right call. Or up in the region, on the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Just keep it locked on these stations as you travel throughout the day. No reason to change it. And been sitting on some big news, still not going to let it out, but we are adding another radio station affiliate in the upcoming soon I'll say, in a great place that we're looking so forward to it. So hope everyone's having a great day. Good start to your week. The World Series is rolling and not disappointing. Without question, that thing is doing fine. And it is tied 2-2. The Toronto Blue Jays, or Toronto, you don't say the T. Remember that from the movie Argo. Argo, blank yourself. Bump. I've got to get a better rim shot than the one I have. This doesn't work very well. This takes too long. Yeah, that's not a rim shot, man. That's terrible. Anyway, the Toronto Blue Jays 6-2 over the Dodgers last night. Shohei Ohtani hung a breaking ball to Guerrero in the top of the third inning. Not long after the Dodgers had taken a 1-0 lead, the Jays slugger hit it 395 feet to left center field. Unfortunately, that was not within the confines of the playing surface, so it was a home run. So many times Shohei Ohtani is the hero, and sometimes he's not. The Game 4 hero, Shane Bieber, on a night when both starters had to give their respective teams some length. Bieber outpitched Ohtani, navigating around 4 hits and 3 walks over 5.5 innings, and doing what no one has been able to do at Dodger Stadium lately: get Ohtani out at the plate. Bieber struck out the Dodgers two-way starter twice. So, got a tie series. Great, 2-2. Going into Game 5. It seems like this thing is going fast, too. I couldn't believe they were on again last night. I was like, wow, they're playing again. I mean, usually they stretch these things out for TV for as long as they can. But that's that. Many NFL fans, there was a poll, and many NFL teams have lost star players to season-ending injuries already or played without them for significant stretches. But a new poll finds that many football fans want more games, even if it means more risk. Well, they don't care. They're not the ones that's risking their life or limbs. A new Quinnipiac poll found that about half of NFL fans say the league is doing enough to protect players from serious injuries. Most fans, 60%, support expanding the season, including many who say the move for players, which would include a salary increase, is worth the increased risk of injury. The NFL is nearing the midpoint of a season marked by high-profile injuries that have knocked several players out of action the rest of the way. Dolphins 5-time All-Pro receiver Tyreek Hill, 49ers All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner, 5-time this stuff happens, man. You're in the freaking 6th game of the NFL season. So what the hell does that have to do with it? Yeah. More games, more injuries. That's common sense. But if the NFL wants more games, it's just because they want to make more money. So that's what that'll come down to. So there's that. And that's all I got to say about that. Hey, let's see. We heard from last week. We had the opportunity to meet with Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart, the guys from Fox. I never played any of that. Here's a little bit of Brady Quinn just before we hit the next break.
There is much of a difference at this moment. I think the biggest thing was,
he's talking about,
Fernando's playing just like that much better than where I think Curtis was a year ago. Defensively, too, they really haven't skipped a beat, but it's probably just collectively proving that they could win that big game. I mean, the way they won at Oregon, not only with the physicality, but just kind of the dominance to go in there like that. That was like one of those things that kind of checks off the box where now when we talk about, all right, can this team go win a national championship? You go, yeah, they just beat one of the best teams in the country. So that win, I think, said a lot about kind of where the program's at, even though the record, again, is trending similar to where it was last year before they went to the playoff.
There's a lot of program standpoint. How important is alignment, president, athletic director, head coach, and an overall investment in the program?
Yeah, let's just look at it and call it what it is. That these programs are becoming professional teams. So it's no different than the NFL when you have an owner, for example, that isn't in alignment with the general manager and the head coach aren't on the same page. You feel that dysfunction, and it's eventually going to work its way down to the players, and it becomes a disaster, especially when adversity hits, because adversity is going to hit at some point. So in today's age of college football, it's crucial. That's again, you see the universities that can't seem to quite figure it out, or maybe they're like a blue blood and they haven't really got back to where they once were. Oftentimes it's because there's not alignment and they can't figure out how to get everyone on the same page in an era of college football that's kind of ever changing.
Husband-wise,
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us. Was listening to Matt Leinart on the way out there, and cut him off at his point where I want to pick back up. And Dylan Sinn joining us now as well from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, as always, Jim.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. I was getting ready to play. I think Matt Leinert's going to talk about the Heisman Trophy race here, and I'm not sure if I asked him a follow-up when they were here a week ago, but here's Matt Leinart on the Heisman Trophy race.
Like, how do you view it right now?
Yeah.
What's kind of your top list?
You got a bunch of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Kind of a quarterback-driven award, unfortunately, for the other players out there. But look, Fernando's right up there. I think Julian Sand's up there. There's a number of guys you can throw in the conversation, and it really comes down to not always, sometimes even the best player in the country. Like, I think you put Jeremiah Love on any team, he's probably the best player in the country. But again, the award's going to go to someone who kind of has that great season and then has some of those Heisman moments. And I think for Fernando, you go back to Oregon, how he played in that game, that's a huge moment for him. If this thing trends the way I think it's going to, the next biggest one's probably going to be the Big Ten championship. And that's another opportunity there right before the Heisman, where you're going to get a lot of people who are watching that game intently to see how Sam plays, how Fernando plays, and who ends up getting the edge on that.
We've seen a lot of teams, they're biased for whether it's SEC people or whatever the case. And for Fernando to try to win the Heisman, not coming from a traditional school, that's probably going to have an effect on him, because it's kind of become the best player from the best team, the award.
Well, that's why, again, it's so important that they continue to keep playing the way they have and dominate, and keep having the statistical argument, having that kind of dominant argument, being one of the best teams. But then when it comes down to that next big game, making sure that you're playing your best football, in that matchup. And that's the only way you can do it, is you've got to just kind of convince everyone and leave no doubt. And it's hard to do, to your point. I mean, look, I played. I know how it was. People think they give you benefit out of Notre Dame, and meanwhile, you got the entire SEC voting against you. Like, no one wants to see a dude from Notre Dame win it. So, trust me, there's only love from the fan base. The rest are all the voters want to vote for someone else. So, I understand the position he's in. He's got his work cut out for him. But if he plays the way he's capable of, and they end up winning out, win the Big Ten, he's going to be there in New York, and won't be shocked if he's hosting up the trophy.
Matt Leinart talking about. Or Brady Quinn, rather. I keep saying Matt Leinart. Brady Quinn. I don't know why I kept saying Matt Leinart. But Brady Quinn talking about the Heisman race and Fernando, because that does have a difference. I mentioned the bias, and it has a difference. I mean, it matters. Trust me. And but if Indiana goes undefeated, it might come down to that Big Ten championship game, Dylan.
Yeah, I think it very well might. The question is, how well would he have to play against Ohio State? Because Ohio State, Julian Sinn has the Ohio State quarterback has been kind of floating along the fringes of Heisman contention, and his stats are really, really good, but he hasn't been asked to do a whole lot. Right, like the Ohio State has kind of just sat on teams. They haven't played anyone super elite yet. I know they beat Texas. I know Texas is ranked. I don't think Texas is actually very good. They just kind of sat on them. So it'll be interesting to me to see if Sinn, as Ohio State goes through the end of its season here, starts to have his Heisman chances increase, because then if you get to the Big Ten championship game, it would kind of become, okay, whoever wins this game is going to win the award. But if Sinn isn't really in the conversation, then it's a different thing, right? And Fernando would just have to play relatively well in that game to kind of put himself in good position. Right now, I think it's Fernando. I think it's Ty Simpson at Alabama, who's been really good. Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt has been really good. Brady Quinn mentioned him there. I still think Jeremiah Love is one of the best players in the country. And if Notre Dame finishes the season winning 10 games in a row, and he gets a couple other 200-yard games, I think you could see him getting in there. But Fernando right now, as it stands, with some opportunities here to really put up some stats against some teams here toward the end of the season, I think he's as good of a bet as anyone right now.
Yeah, he's going to have to overcome the Indiana thing. I don't care what anybody says. If you had Fernando with better numbers next to a Notre Dame guy, it's going to be pretty equal just because of the bias. I'm telling you, it's crazy when you see it. But I think that Fernando has to win the Big Ten championship or perform very well in that game to win the Heisman. And if he does that, then he'll take it, especially if they win. If he leads Indiana to a 13-0 mark at that time, I don't see any way he does not get the Heisman Trophy, because actually that would move Indiana to number 1 because the AP will still be voting. And that would put Indiana at the number 1 team in the country. And actually, I'll be honest with you, Dylan, this is no home. I think that Indiana might be the number 1 team in the country right now. I don't know that. I don't know that Ohio State is. So, but the great thing is we're going to get to see these teams play. This is going to be one of those rare times where the things come together like you want them to, for a championship. So this is going to be pretty cool to see. Unfortunately for the Big Ten, they stink. Other than Oregon, you don't really have much, man. Washington. I think Washington has the best chance of being a fourth team from the Big Ten to make it in. Other than that, I'm not sure that anybody's going to have a shot at it.
Yeah, I mean, there are teams that if they win out will have a shot, right? Because Oregon still plays Iowa. They still play USC. And so if either of those teams beats Oregon and finishes 10-2, I think they probably get in.
But then Oregon won't get in.
I think Oregon probably gets in. I think the Big Ten probably gets 4 because Oregon would still finish 10-2. We saw 10-2 teams get in.
Yeah, and that would be deserving, no doubt, because Iowa is one of those sneaky teams. How are they not ranked?
Yeah, I had them ranked in my poll this week. They lost early to Iowa State, and I think people kind of got down on them, but they are playing as good as they're playing the best football of anyone in the conference outside of IU and Ohio State right now. I think that they play Oregon this week, or next week, I should say. I apologize for that. And so we're going to get to see them against Oregon off of a bye, and we're going to see how good they really are. And I wouldn't be surprised if they really gave Oregon a test in that game or straight up won, because their defense is as good as it usually is, and their offense is coming along. That quarterback is finding his way toward being extremely productive in the Big Ten. He's not a great passer. He only has like 1 or 2 touchdown passes this year against like FBS competition, but he's been really solid for them. He picks up tough yards on the ground. He makes some nice throws, and he lets them do what they want to do, which is control the game and control the ball. And I think they're a really, really good team. I think they have if they win out, they'll be in. And so it's then a question of the question we have is the question that we've had all season, which is the Big Ten going to be a 3 or 4 bid league? That's going to be what it comes down to, because one of those teams, Iowa, Washington, USC, Michigan could, if they went out and they beat Ohio State at the end of the season, Michigan could be up there. And so it's just a question of whether the Big Ten is a 3 or 4 bid league.
Yeah, you've got Iowa and Washington sitting right beside themselves in the AP poll, down at numbers 28 and 29, both at 6-2. But they're so far behind so many other teams like Utah. The hell, they're behind USC at 5-2. And USC is a team that they'd love to put in there. But, I guess if they win out, that would, go 10-2. But so there's between those three teams,
would have wins over Michigan
and then there's Michigan, but they have to beat Ohio State again. And I don't like their odds this time around, even though it's in the big house. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah,
but we'll see, man. But the Big Ten is the middle of the Big Ten. Do you think as good as the middle of the SEC? I mean, or is this all perception? Right now, we think that the SEC is so good there in the middle. They've got all these teams that are ranked, but are they really better than these other teams, these Big Ten teams we're talking about? Because last year when Michigan played Alabama, Michigan won. And there were other Big Ten SEC matchups. So still, I think there's a lot of perception, a little preconceived notions about these teams. And so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem is we didn't get many matchups between those teams this year, right? Like Ohio State played Texas, but Ohio State is obviously like they're at the top of the Big Ten. Texas is in the middle, not really a fair fight. Michigan played Oklahoma. That's the best one we have. Michigan went to Oklahoma, didn't play very well. Oklahoma looked really good in that game. They're both 6-2 now. So if you want to say, well, those are the equivalent teams, and Oklahoma was a lot better, well, okay, I get your point, right? It's the computers seem to think the middle of the SEC is better than the middle of the Big Ten, probably by less than the national perception, but it is better. Like that's part of the reason I'm so high on Iowa is Iowa's computer rankings are really like the computer polls think Iowa is really, really good. Like almost top 15 in the country. So we'll see. Like that is the problem is we didn't get many of those matchups during the non-conference schedule, right? It would have been really fun to see like a Washington play an Ole Miss or something like that. We didn't get to see that in the non-conference schedule. And so there just weren't a whole lot of big games between the two conferences this year. There will be in the playoff though. There will be games between the Big Ten and the SEC in the playoff, and we'll get to see how those teams really stack up. And I'm very interested in seeing how that goes.
As am I. As I'm looking through the poll tracker right now, I noticed that you voted Indiana number 1, did you not?
I did, yes. Yeah. I
agree with you. And you're one of 10 other people.
Yeah.
Indiana gaining 11 first place votes this week. I talked about that earlier, but they went from, I don't remember if it was 3 or 6. Six last week, 11 this week. I really, really believe Indiana is, if you base it on the wins, well, Indiana has the best wins. I mean, they won, they beat a top 10 Illinois team like they stole something. They go to Iowa and win a tough, grounded out game. Then they go to Oregon and win. Get out of here, man. Yeah. Those are the best wins of any team in the country, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, like that to me is why I have them number 1. They have done more so far to me. I'll be honest with you, and the audience probably is going to like this. If and when IU plays Ohio State, I will pick Ohio State to win the game. But right now, IU has done more than Ohio State has. I mean, we have a head-to-head, like we have a common opponent. And it's crazy that we're midway through the Big Ten season, and IU and Ohio State only have one common Big Ten opponent, but it's Illinois, and Indiana just took them apart entirely. And Ohio State won, and it was relatively convincing. They weren't in any danger of losing, but Illinois did some things against Ohio State that it was not capable of doing against Indiana. So to me, that is why I have IU at 1 right now. I know there are some people that have Texas A&M at number 1 right now. If you look at their schedule, they have played nobody outside of Notre Dame. And like, I know the SEC people love to pump up the bottom of the SEC, but the bottom of the SEC is bad. Like they played, Texas A&M has played 3 coaches or 3 teams that have fired their coach already. And they beat Notre Dame because Notre Dame botched an extra point. That wasn't exactly a convincing win. So Texas A&M is a little bit, I don't even know if they're the best team in the SEC, frankly. So right now, I think IU has done more resume-wise than anyone else. That I think Ohio State is probably the best team in the country, and I might be wrong about that. We'll get to see when they play. It seems like if they play in Indianapolis in December, But right now, IU has the best resume, and that's how I do my rankings, is based on resume.
Yeah, and I know that some people, and I get that with Ohio State being the reigning national champion and being undefeated, I kind of understand. If you're going, you got to take the if you're going to take the king down. I mean, to take him off of number one, you got to take the king down, and King's still undefeated. So I get that, but this is a new season. This is not the NFL where the teams are mostly the same, completely different teams. That's why we've seen this completely different type of season. And
the thing with Ohio State to me is that it's so hard to know exactly what they are, because they haven't even taken it out of neutral this year. They have just they've gotten up by 10 against basically every team they played, and then just parked it and been like, all right, we don't have to play anymore, we're done. And that's not the players saying, hey, we're quitting and we're just gonna ride this out. It's the coaches basically saying, hey, don't expend yourselves too much. They're really trying to play the long game. They learned from last season when they won the title how much of a grind a 16-game college football season is, and their coaching staff made a definitive choice in the offseason. We are not going to go out and try to destroy teams. We're going to try to get a decent lead and then just relax, so we can get these guys fresh at the end of the year. And that's great for them. It might be the right strategy for them, but it doesn't do the rest of us any good, because we don't know exactly how good they are. We haven't seen them when they've been tested yet. They have not had to go win a game in the fourth quarter, and that's partially because they're really good and they're just ahead all the time. But it doesn't show us what they can do when they are really in overdrive. And so we'll have to see, because we're not going to get that chance basically until they play in the Big Ten title game against whoever it is, right? If it's Indiana or against someone else, because they don't play anybody. Like, their schedule this year is basically Indiana's last year, where they got a bunch of breaks. They don't really play anyone great in the Big Ten season. They don't play Oregon. They play Penn State this week, but Penn State's down. They don't play Iowa. So we'll have to see. I mean, they beat Washington relatively easily, and they play Michigan at the end of the year, but it really is a relatively weak schedule. And that doesn't mean that Ohio State is any good. They just haven't played anybody. And so we'll have to see, because they haven't been tested yet, and they won't be probably until the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I'm looking at the AP poll and those that voted for Indiana at number one, just to get an idea where some of these writers are from. A lot of them from the Pacific. There's a couple from the Pacific Northwest. There's Greg Madia from Charlottesville, Virginia. Go backwards. Javon Edmonds from Syracuse, New York. Let's see, because I always wonder, different parts of the country, how it comes apart. But Baton Rouge, Cokie Riley from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's see. So the love coming from all over. Los Angeles, California. So the news is out, man. There's some people, Idaho, Boise, Idaho. I'm looking at this guy's vote, and it's crazy seeing Indiana at number one in football. I still, if they were to win the Big Ten championship game, like I said a moment ago, they would go to number one in the AP poll. And
they would deserve. There would be no one else with even a case.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, think about how crazy all of us went, even in the media, because of how, we just saw Lazarus rise from the dead. Let's be honest. And not only has Lazarus risen from the dead, but he's winning gold medals. You know what this is crazy. Let's take a break on all this crazy talk. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette is with us on this Wednesday. We've made the halfway point as we're getting you to the weekend. It's all downhill from here. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. And let's see, did talk to Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn when they were here for the Fox Big Noon Kickoff. And this actually is Matt Leinart talking about Indiana.
Matt, you're back in Bloomington for the second year in a row, something Hoosier fans are not accustomed to seeing, all the attention. They've had game day and all that stuff here now. But now they are a contender for a Big Ten title and a national championship, which...
Isn't that wild? That's wild for you guys.
It blows my mind to say, believe me.
It's been quite the turnaround. Obviously, it's only year 2 with Signetti, but, I mean... Proof is in the wins. Proof is in the success. And even last year, going into the playoff, and then the fast start this year, the road win against Oregon was probably a signature win for him early in his tenure here. We talked about in our meeting. They're extremely well coached. They're a really good football team. They're an extension of him and the staff. And why not? They're here. And they just locked him up for 10 years, whatever the deal was, which is smart because I think he's the real deal. So it's been a great story. I love college sports. I love great stories, whether it's hoops or whatever. And this is what kind of turned into great stories now. It's like a legit turning them into a power. I mean, I don't know. We'll see, a powerhouse maybe. We'll see what happens, but certainly on the right track.
When you say well coached, give me a view, you watch it too.
So yeah. So
what makes them in your eyes well?
So when you watch film and you see the decisiveness in which I could talk about Fernando, right? Fernando, the way that he plays the position and the decisions and all that, it's an extension. I was well coached by Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin. I know, I can just picture him being in that room. And so when your quarterback plays at that level, you just know he's well coached. When the offensive line moves, all of the units play very well together. And again, they're good players. They bought into the system and all that. But when there's attention to detail, you can tell. You can just tell when you watch. It's not always great. I mean, they struggled against Iowa, obviously going on the road to Oregon, but they found ways to win. So when I say just well coached, it's just there's a toughness about them. Because these aren't 5-star kids, right? They're kids that they brought in from the portal, and they go and get the players that they can coach and develop and that buy into what they're teaching, and that's just proof in how they're playing. It's pretty remarkable.
Fernando Mendoza, a leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he plays with a jersey that says Indiana on it.
Right.
And how much coming from a top tier program. You know the difference, how people view that, even though their success may be above and beyond. But
well, I mean, I think he's. I want to say he's the odds-on favorite right now to win. So he's definitely getting that respect from Vegas, or however you want to talk about it. He's getting the respect. But you're right. I think, you look at, it's hard with the Heisman, right? Because like you could say the same, like Julian Sains at Ohio State having the year that anyone's having, and we're not really talking about him at all in the Heisman, even though he's still up there, and he has the brand name. I actually talked to Fernando this week. I did a little interview with him. He actually, we texted and he said, like, how do you, like with the Heisman, just how do you handle all of that? How do you balance all of that? And I just said, dude, just focus one game at a time, play at a time. Don't worry about all that stuff. If they continue to do what they're doing, which I imagine they will, and they're probably going to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, that's the stage that's set for him to win the Heisman Trophy. It just is. That's what it will be, and maybe both of those guys, Julian as well, and that'll show all the voters who, you know what I mean. So like, he's got everything in front of him. Can't worry about all that stuff. That stuff takes care of itself, But he's a hell of a player. He's a great kid. Gosh, what a great head on his shoulders. I'll tell a funny story. This is actually a good one. He told me my wife's little brother, my brother-in-law, was his teacher in high school. So he told me that on the thing, because my family, my wife's Cuban. So he had I actually have people coming out here to come see him and his brother that are from Miami, that we got tickets for and stuff. So pretty small world there. There's a connection between me and Fernando. I had no idea, but great kid, great player, and a good opportunity today, or tomorrow against UCLA. Everyone's going to watch this game. UCLA playing really good right now. They really are. Like, that team is completely different than what they were. So this will be a nice little test for him, I think.
How about that? Matt Leinart. How about that little story, Dylan?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of fun.
Small world. Matt Leinart out in California the whole time, and yet it ends up that his wife's brother was Fernando Mendoza's teacher
in Miami. Yeah, that's terrific. Wow. I want to say one thing. You talked about the brand bias in the Heisman Trophy, and I think that is a good point to bring up, because obviously it has been the case over the years. I think it's becoming less the case, right? As college football.
Well, it should, because college football is changing.
Right, it's changing, but it's also more available. Like, you can watch just about any college football game you want now. And that was not the case even 20, 30 years ago, right? Like we have so much more access to so much more college football than we ever have before. And it's giving people a chance to watch other players, right? And like last year, the top two finishers in the Heisman Trophy voting were from Colorado and Boise State, right? Lamar Jackson won at Louisville in 2016. And obviously there have been some brand names as well. Obviously, you have people at Alabama and Oklahoma winning, USC winning Heisman trophies. But there is, if you are good, Heisman, it's becoming like the NFL, where if you are good, Heisman voters are going to find you, right? And I think that's kind of a significant difference from when you talk about when Anthony Thompson was trying to win it, or when Antoine Randall L was trying to win it. Like, it's a different landscape, and people are going to see these guys play more, even if you're not at a top brand, than they used to. And I think that's something to keep in mind. Is people have seen Fernando play this year. Like, a lot of people watched that Oregon game. A lot of people watched him play against Iowa, and a lot of people will watch him in the Big Ten championship. And Heisman voters have gotten a little bit more sophisticated over the years. I am a Heisman voter. I am one of like 900 Heisman voters. It's a really big list. But Heisman voters have gotten a little bit more sophisticated over the years about who they're voting for, right? Bryson Daly from Army was finished, I think, 5th or 6th last year. Curtis Rourke was 9th. Like, people recognize an Indiana quarterback even last year. So I do think that Fernando has that advantage of playing in 2025, where brand name in the Heisman Trophy voting matters even less than it used to.
Yeah, I'm a Heisman voter as well, and I always it can be a regional thing too, but and sometimes bias is accidental. When you cover something a lot, when you're around something a lot, you're much more familiar with it. It's human nature. If you're around a person a lot, you know their ticks, their ins and outs. You have a better understanding of them, and you could probably see past a few flaws. But when you are looking at something outside of that, you only see the flaws a lot of the time, and you don't have as good an understanding. So there can be some regional accidental bias to the Heisman voting, but that's why they do have a plenty in each area around the country, because you will see that, I promise you. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, Fernando, good gosh, all this new stuff that's happening, man. I mean, Indiana's number 2 in the country, Dylan. They're pretty much a lock to play in the Big Ten championship game. They have a shot to win the Big Ten title. They have a chance to be number 1 in the country. They have a chance to have a Heisman Trophy winner. How the hell are we supposed to take all this stuff in at once? It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes as we get into the week by week of it all, and you talk about, okay, what's this week's game? What are they ranked? What's this going to be? You can lose the forest for the trees with just how ridiculous this run has been. And we talked about it a lot last year because it was so fresh and so new. And they had gone 3-9 the year before, and suddenly they were 10-0, and it was like, how did this happen, right? This year, it feels like we've talked about it less because they've just been so good. The story this year is less that they used to be bad and more just how good they have been. But boy, it really is the amount that this program has elevated, even from last year. Like Kirsten Nettie has said repeatedly that he does not like to compare teams. He doesn't like to do it. But this team is even better than last year. And the idea of doing that while losing all of the talent they lost off of last year's team, which was significant, right? Losing two of their top running backs, their Heisman 9th place finisher quarterback, the Jalen Walker being gone, CJ West being gone, James Carpenter being gone, and losing all those guys and getting better with the work they did in the portal this offseason is just so impressive. They really did an incredible job in filling those spots and coaching them up and getting the right guys into the system. Like it is one of those things where the truism in college football in the portal era has been you can't build through the portal and win big, right? Like Florida State did it. I've made this comparison a couple times. Florida State did it for a couple of years. They went 10-3 and they went 13-0. Or 13-1, I guess, because they lost that Orange Bowl. And then they fell apart entirely. And it was like, okay, that's what happens when you try to go through the portal year after year. Eventually you just miss. And IU has hit at such an incredible rate in 2 straight portal classes to the point that you have to wonder whether they can do it again next season. And like, we're not talking about next season yet. We're talking about this year. But they're going to go into the portal again this offseason for some reinforcements. And if they hit again, it's like, all right, is this just the best? Is this the best talent evaluation staff in the country? I think it has to be. I don't really think there can be anyone else because they just play so far above the level.
That,
yeah.
But that's also that's because they came from a place to where you had to do that. You had to identify and develop the best talent possible because you're at James Madison. Or you're at a lower level than that. You have to do it better than the other guys. And he did that for a long time. And I think that's coming back to help him. And I'm speaking of Curt Cignetti and the staff that was with him for the most part of that, all at that lower level, all fighting and scratching and clawing with, less resources. They didn't have all that money and all of that. So you had to find other ways. And when you do that for that long, apparently you get pretty damn good at it because Indiana has been amazing at it. And I don't think it's luck, because you just mentioned all the, and I did say, I'll pat myself on the back. I said all along this was going to be a better team than last year's team because of the additions they had made. My only concern was the defensive line. Well, ironically, the defensive line might be the best freaking unit on the damn team right now. And that's saying a lot for this, but I'm not kidding. The defensive line might be the best unit on the Indiana football team. And that's not hyperbole. I mean, they have been, and that's without hardly ever even hearing from Mikael Kamara.
Yeah.
We barely even heard about him this year. He's an All-American. That's because everybody else is just going nuts. Landino and the rest of those guys. I mean, I've mentioned this 100 times. 2 top 10 matchups, 13 sacks just in those games.
Yeah.
That's
it really, and they've been able to get pressure with 4. I mean, that is the key to the defense, right? Is that they've been able to get pressure with 4 against everyone they play. They haven't had to bring a ton of blitzes. What they do is they bring a ton of exotic rushes where they have guys going in different directions and defensive tackles dropping into coverage and all this stuff. It is really impressive how Bryant Haynes is schemed pressure with 4. And then obviously those guys just winning at the point of attack. Like you said, Landino, Tyreek Tucker has been really good. Hosea Wheeler has been terrific. They've just been really good on that defensive front at getting pressure on quarterbacks without having to bring blitzes from the linebackers. Because like last year, they brought a lot of blitzes. Jalen Walker last year was fantastic at like, if there was a gap in the line, he was going to go get the quarterback. Like he was so good at that. IU hasn't really had to do that this year. They've done it a little bit with Elijah Hardy. They've done it a little bit with Isaiah Jones. I don't remember Aiden Fisher blitzing a whole lot for IU this year. And so the ability to get pressure with 4 has really allowed the rest of the defense to just kind of sit on everyone else. Like the secondary is kind of able to sit back there and be like, all right, this guy only has like 3 seconds to throw. I only have to cover for 2 seconds. And then I can get in position to knock the ball away. It's been really impressive how they've been able to kind of get everything to cohere so quickly with so many new guys.
Absolutely. And just looking forward to seeing what goes forward with this squad and who does what. Is the Maryland team that they're coming up against. Kurt Cignetti did his best to do what coaches always do, talk well about your upcoming opponent, but he did point out some good things. They've only, they have 22 sacks on the year. That's pretty good. They've only given up like 6 sacks or something.
Yeah, they're good along the front. Yeah.
And then there was something else. I can't remember the note that I remember wrote down that he had said, but it was just kind of crazy. I'm like, wow. Yeah. But offensively, I just don't think that they have it. They have not played against a defense like Indiana because it makes a difference. And because people have to view Indiana as an Ohio State. This is like Maryland playing Ohio State. And that's how people have to view that, because Indiana is an Ohio State at the moment. Not with the tradition, but in the here and now, they're a juggernaut. And they're a favorite to win the national championship. A favorite, not the favorite, but a favorite to win the national championship. They're going to be one of 4 teams that receives a bye in these upcoming playoffs. And it's going to be interesting to see who they get matched up with, because sometimes the 1 seed is not as good as another seed because of the matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it'll be a little bit less like that this year because they are doing the straight rankings this year rather than last year. They had the top 4 seeds beating the conference champions, so it's a little bit different.
Which will help Indiana this year because
it will help Indiana because they'll be able to get a bye. Yeah, if they lose to Ohio State,
they're still getting buys.
Yeah, you should be able to get a top 4 seed even if you lose to Ohio State. But I do think Maryland's a good team. Like let's be honest about that. Maryland is a good team. Like they're 4-3, but their 3 losses have all come right at the end of games. Like I think all 3 of their losses are by 4 points or fewer. They
They
were
led
really
Washington
good.
by 20 and
They were up by 20 on Washington. Like, this is a good team. Like, if people think Indiana's just going to go in there and walk and it'd be a walkover, I don't really think that's the case. I think this is going to be a game for a while. And Maryland has had a couple of games in the last couple of years where they've hung in against really good teams. Like Michigan, when they won the championship in 2023, Maryland was driving to win the game in the fourth quarter in that game, right? They were driving to win the game in the fourth quarter against Ohio State in 2022. This is not a team that is totally foreign to taking top 5 teams down to the wire. So I would not be surprised this week if this game is close, if people think it's just going to be, Indiana's going to go in there just because they're way better. I don't know if that's the case. We'll have to see.
Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all the content for Purdue, Indiana, and Notre Dame. The Boilers, we didn't get a chance to talk about them. I wish we would have. I meant to. They go down to Kentucky in basketball. So I'm telling you, I do not think Purdue is what most people think they are in basketball. I think they're a good team, but they're not. I do not believe that they are a top 5 team personally. And I think that's going to be shown as the season goes along.
Yeah, we'll have to see. They've lost an exhibition game 3 years in a row, mostly because they don't really game plan for it. So we'll have to see.
That was on the road, so I'm not. Yeah. You can't give them a lot in a tough environment at Rupp Arena. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll see in the regular season
game, and we know what exhibition games mean. They don't mean anything. Yeah, but appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on, as always.
Pleasure, as always, brother. Hey, we've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Kyle Neddenriep will join us next. We'll get you caught up on all the high school action going on and plenty more on the backside when we return from these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Kyle Neddenriep will be joining us here shortly. And let's see, before we get into that, I guess we can hear a little bit more of, how about some more Kurt Signetti? We heard some of him yesterday. Here's a little bit more him from his presser on Monday.
With his yards now and then.
The looks Haynes throws are just really cool, really unique. What's the process look like of trying to craft those kind of looks? And how early on after you hired him did you kind of tell that his mind was just really advanced?
Yeah, I felt, I got that sense about him pretty quickly when I hired him. Now, you got to remember.
Talking about Bryant
I
Haynes.
hired him back in, I think it was 2013 or or so. He was coming off 14, coming off a graduate assistantship at Ohio State under Urban Meyer, and had been a graduate assistant at Indiana and had a Division III job also. I actually hired him to coach a defensive line. That's a position I had available. It was a part-time position, but your full-time hours, full-time coach for maybe $8,000. And I thought he did a great job with the defensive line. So at that point, I always kind of viewed him as a D-line guy. But he always expressed he wanted to be more of a linebacker guy. And then I always thought he'd be coordinator material. And then when I got the Elon job, he had gone to Kel Davis and they'd got released as a staff. So I was fortunate enough to bring him back to Elon, right? And did a tremendous job. Was Tony Trisciani's right-hand man there, who's now the head coach at Elon. And then when I went to JMU, I hired Corey Heatherman to be the defense coordinator, who's now at Miami. And he did a great job, was with me 3 years. But the day that, about 20 minutes before Corey was to arrive for his interview, Bryant came walking into my office and said that Tony down at Elon had offered him the defensive coordinator job at Elon. I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to stay with you. I said, okay, well, look, I'll talk to Corey, see about you being the co-coordinator, but, understand that Corey's the coordinator. And Corey was cool with that. And then when Corey left to go to Rutgers, and right after the 21 season, I think, I elevated Bryant.
And there you go. There's the story of Brian Haynes becoming the DC. Kyle Neddenriep joining us now. Kyle, as it's playoff time, baby, in the high schools, as everything else is rolling along with the NFL, the Colts, Indiana. It's just been a fun football year so far in the state of Indiana, and I know the high schools are rolling along as well.
Yeah, we're the center of the football universe right now, so it's pretty cool. But this is always a fun week of high school football. We had our super team photo shoot for the boys last night for basketball, so that was that's always fun as well. So we're in the midst.
I didn't get a call, Kyle. I must have missed it.
Yeah, we're in the midst of the crossover basketball, which means we're in crazy time here with a lot going on, but definitely football is going to be awesome this week. There's so many great games on tap, and it's kind of my former boss used to always call this the cut down week because it's sectional semifinal night. You lose a ton of local teams and really teams across the state, and a lot of good teams will go down to defeat on Friday, and that's that'll be the case this week as well. But some of the better games, there's a ton of them. Really, last week there wasn't, although the Eastbrook Alexandria game turned out to be one of the most craziest finishes you'll ever see in the history of any level of football. but there weren't, beyond that one, there weren't just a ton of, slobber knocker type games. But this week, man, you've got Eastern Evansville Memorial playing Gibson Southern, which is the 1 versus 2. In Class 3A, that's a sectional semifinal, which is insane. Cascade and Tri-West, which is a rematch of last year when Cascade was undefeated and lost to Tri-West in a great game. That's actually the game I'll be at. But Cascade 10-0 again this year, and they're trying to get through. And I think they have a chance to make a run in 3A if they can win that one against Tri-West and their excellent quarterback, Jack Sorgi, who's committed to Louisville. And then, there's great games all over. You got Warsaw and Concord up in 5A in that sectional. Warsaw made a run last year to the state championship game, and I think the winner of this game might have a chance to do that again. New Pal and Plainfield. New Pal playing a 5A tournament game for the first time since 2021, and Plainfield are really having a really good season. I was actually out at New Pal's practice on Monday, and I was interested to hear what Kyle Ralph says to his team and talks to them about, and he's like, it's not going to be as easy as we've had it all year. Plainfield's a 5A team, and 5A teams are they're different, and so it'll be. I think New Pal will win, but Plainfield should give them a little bit more, a little bit tougher game, I think, than they've had throughout the course of the year. But yeah, man, there's so many. Evansville Reitz and Heritage Hills. You get Springs Valley and Providence, which is another 1-2 game in 1A. So you got 2 1-2 games this week in the state. LC and LN, which is always fun around here. I think that potentially could be a wild one. So, you go down the list. We could also have the rushing record broken on Friday when Miles McLaughlin from Knox, he needs 272 yards to break the Charlie Spiegel's all-time rushing record. So
holy cow.
There's a lot happening on Friday.
What is that record?
10,867.
Oh, that's just ridiculously stupid. That's funny. Didn't know that record would be broken, but I guess always. What class does this kid play in that's got a shot?
They're a 3A team. I went up there this season and wrote a little bit about him. I just out of curiosity, just like, who is Miles McLaughlin? How is he doing this? It's an interesting story there. He actually plays quarterback for them, but they run like a kind of a zone read shotgun offense, and he really is a running back. He's traditionally been a running back, but they've moved him there just because he can kind of operate that zone read, and most of the time he'll run it. But he can also hand it off. They'd run a little pitch off of it. Their coach Russ Radke's the second all-time leading wins leader in the history of the state, and he used to run a wishbone offense. So it's just kind of an interesting story that I didn't know much about him going into the year, to be honest with you. But then as he keeps piling up these yards, when Spiegel broke the record, I was like, man, no one's ever going to beat that. I didn't think that. I mean, he was almost 3,000 yards ahead of the previous record holder, which was Sammy Morales, who played at Elwood. And I remember it's probably been 10, 11 years ago, I did a story on him when he was kind of a skinny running back who, just had a really good run there at Elwood, but then Spiegel just shattered that record completely. And, so for McLaughlin to get this high up there, and he should break they play Griffith with a good team. They're 9-1, but I think he'll probably end up breaking it on Friday. And I think they'll win that game and he'll have a chance to go on. And, they're another team. I think they could be playing. That would be a cool story if they made it all the way to the state finals in 3A, but yeah, pretty good, pretty interesting story. And he's not like a 5-star recruit or anything like that, but he'll play somewhere, and he'll probably play, he could play defense or could play running back, but good, really good player, and kind of a cool thing that's also happening amidst all of the games.
I mean, that's like 2,500 yards per year if you got that started as a freshman, and most people don't. So that's just a lot of yards, man.
Yeah, he's stacking. This year, he's about 3,000 yards just this season alone, and he does. Like I said, he carries the ball a lot. He's kind of their. But also too, it's like every defense knows he's going to be the one carrying the ball, and yet he still manages to do what he's done. But to your point, like he doesn't throw a lot. He's only thrown, I think, 19 times this season. So as a quarterback, yeah, he's kind of a quarterback in name only, really. And he can throw it a little bit. It's not what he wants to do. He'll even tell the coaches, I'd rather run it than throw it. So it's not like he's a drop back passer by any means. But this year he's already at 3,603 yards and 55 rushing touchdowns. So that kind of goes to show you what he's been doing. He was almost 3,000 last year, 2,500 as a sophomore, and then he was, even as a freshman, he was almost at 1,600. So he had a pretty good. You almost to break that record, you almost have to.
You've got to have freshman yardage.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of freshman season, and he did that.
Absolutely. And it sounds like we've got great games all around the state, whether it's down in the southwest part with Gibson Southern and Evansville Memorial, or Providence from the southern Indiana area, of course, the Indianapolis area, and Fort Wayne as well. So lots of great games everywhere. And you've got the big boys. Don't they play this week, 6A?
Yeah, 6A and 5A are jumping into the mix. There's only one 5A game last week. That Whiteland played in that one at Seymour pretty easily. So there wasn't much going on with 5A and 6A, but now, yeah, those guys joined join the fray. And really, I mean, I would say most of the bigger matchups are not in 6A and 5A. Like it's a lot of 3A. There's some really outstanding 3A and 5. There are some really good 5A matchups, but most of the 6A, I think, kind of trends to we're going to see the best games next week, which I think is good. Those will be sectional championship games. But like I said, Lawrence Central and Lawrence North, I think, has a chance to be really a fun game and could be kind of crazy offensive night. I think there's potential for, when you look around at 6A and, Ben Davis and Avon, Ben Davis only 3-6, but Avon beat them earlier this year. But Ben Davis has some offensive weapons that I think they could make that game interesting. And then Zionsville Westfield, I think, has potential. Floyd Central and Castle in 5A is a good one.
Highlanders, baby, Highlanders.
I throw that in there for you.
Where's that game being played?
That's at Castle. Castle.
Oh, that's going to be tough down there in Evansville.
Yeah, and Castle beat them last year in the sectional on the way to the sectional title. So I think this Floyd team better than probably last year. So I think they got a chance to win that one. There's a lot of. I mean, that Eastbrook game. I don't know if you saw that in the finish of that game, but they play Rochester, who is also 9-1. So another tough game for Eastbrook, but just to be able to keep playing for them is crazy after the game they had the other night. But yeah, so many good ones. There's a lot on the line. I'm sure we'll see a lot of upsets. Can't wait to see how everything unfolds on Friday.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a fun time, but a busy time for you and the rest of your cohorts keeping things going, because it's going to be all hands on deck with all classes playing this weekend. And so it really comes to roost. But looking forward, hope you get out to some high school games and support all of these guys, because this is the best time of the year, but they need the support as well, baby. Go out and watch a high school game. And make sure you're following Kyle Neddenriep and his extraordinarily great coverage. Brother, we appreciate you as always. Anything else coming up, going on?
Oh, yeah, I mean, a lot. But yeah, that kind of covers it for now. But, yeah, buy a sweatshirt, buy a jacket, get out there Friday, and get out to your local high school football field. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a little colder maybe, but not bad still.
Football weather, baby. It's just football weather.
That's right.
Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
You betcha. Hey, we've got more coming up. We'll keep on rolling with it as we head out. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. I hope you're doing fine. We're at the halfway point. It's all downhill from here. The NCAA Division I board has delayed the policy change that would allow athletes to vote or to bet on pro sports. The SEC's Greg Sankey said it would be a major major step in the wrong direction. And he says his chancellors and presidents are not in favor of it. And I've got to say, I agree with Greg Sankey. We've just seen all we need to see with gambling issues and athletes. Why offer them more opportunities for this stuff to happen? Sorry. If you're a college athlete, you just can't gamble. That's just how it should be. Sorry, because when it comes to especially basketball and football, but you don't even have to be a player. You can be a friend. Hell, some of these guys live together. There's no way that inside information is not being extolled. I mean, these guys know guys from other teams. So I agree that it should not happen. So it's been tabled for now, and it's not supposed to take effect until November 22nd now. And that's when it's supposed to take effect. But they're hoping, or at least the SEC people are hoping to block that. And I'd like to see more. I'd like to see Tony Petitti come on board with that and everybody else, because I just don't. There's nothing. What is there to be gained? Stop giving in on every damn thing. Good God, people. I mean, I'm sorry. Make a rule and hold it. It's a rule. You don't have to. If you want to bet, that's fine. Don't be a college athlete. It's ridiculous, but they're going to fight it, I'm sure. And somebody's going to sue for the ability to bet, and they'll win, and yada, yada. Other topics, the Coach Act has been introduced by a Washington U.S. representative, and that is definitely, that's in regards to the unbelievable rise in coaches' salaries, buyouts. Right now, schools are on the hook for $169 million. $169 million in buyouts. That's from the 10 coaches this year. That doesn't include the $77 million from Jimbo Fisher and the $15 million to Tom Allen. It's crazy. It is literally crazy what's going on out there. So a Washington representative with the intentions of slowing down the escalating salaries of college coaches, namely football, have introduced this, which I don't know how it would work. I'll be honest with you. Let's see. I'm going to look this up. The Coach Act, COACHACT. Yeah, that didn't. Oh, here we go. Correcting opportunity and account. I love what it stands for. Correcting opportunity and accountability in coach and collegiate hiring act. Correcting opportunity and accountability in collegiate hiring act. This bill would limit how much colleges can pay their athletic staff, like head coaches and athletics directors, if the school wants to keep access to federal student aid. Hello. Now you're tying it into something. The cap is tied to each school's listed tuition and fees, and it includes buyouts when a coach is fired. The idea is to slow the arms race in coach pay and big buyouts, and to push more money towards academics and all sports, not just football and men's basketball. Today, top coaches can make 10 to 13 million a year, and buyouts can run in the tens of millions. So this would be a big change. Yes, it would. If it works as written, the bill would likely cut the highest salaries a lot. Now, I don't know how you can cut someone's salary, especially at the public universities with lower in-state tuition, like Indiana, and make it harder to spend huge sums on buyouts. That could reduce the need for student fees or generally university students to support athletics, which would help students and families. On the other hand, schools and conferences could see lower performance and revenue in major sports if they cannot pay to keep top coaches, and some might look for workarounds. There is also a chance of court fights over whether Congress can attach a rule like this to federal student aid, although Congress commonly puts conditions on that aid. Overall, the likely impact is a smaller net positive for students and the academics mission, with bumps along the way. Yeah, we'll see that. We'll see. I don't know how, but the fact that the federal aid, and these are a lot of these are state universities, but then you have the private schools. Private schools would be not affected. They can do whatever the hell they want. But I like the fact that something is trying to be done, because that step has to take place before you'll ever even get to where you're trying to get to, because you're going to have missteps. There's going to be probably lawsuits. So you're going to have to get through a whole lot of stuff to ever get there. That's like, it's going to take a long time before there are actual guardrails in place for college athletics. It's going to be this way until that happens, but it's going to be a while until that happens, because it takes trial and error. Put it in. Oh no, that got defeated. You got to take this out. Oh, you got to put this in. So it's going to be a minute. YouTube TV and ESPN, seen the commercials. It's so funny how one side, the YouTube or the ESPN commercials, everyone, YouTube's at it again. You're about to lose connection to ESPN and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Basically blaming the other side. And the other side said, hey, we've been waiting to hear back from them. We made them an offer at the beginning of October. It's fans hate seeing this stuff. It's ridiculous. And it should never take place. I mean, do your deals, get it done, and take care of it. It's just ridiculous. But you know that, see, that doesn't work for either side. ESPN does not want their content to not be carried by such a large carrier as YouTube TV. I use YouTube TV. And by the same token, YouTube TV doesn't want to not have ESPN, because that makes customers unhappy. So there's that. Hey, before I forget, I want to point out, I mentioned it yesterday. Go to the Hoosier.com and subscribe for the best coverage in IU athletics. There's no question about that. Inside information. If a story breaks on a commitment, it's going to be at On 3. And in addition to all the incredible local coverage, you've got massive national coverage that just covers it all. But for those of you that subscribe between now and the end of November 30th, you go in for a drawing of this beautiful Adidas embroidered jacket. I know that all of our radio listeners can't see it, but trust me, it's nice. It's an Adidas embroidered zip-up jacket, black, with the logo embroidered on it, pockets. Pretty pricey. But you go into the drawing for that, and got this incredible IU backpack that I was able to pick up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is awesome. But it's got Adidas, it's an Adidas backpack. It's got Indiana script on it on one side. It's got the IU logo on it on another. It's got all kinds of incredible deals on it. So all you got to do, be a subscribe to thehoosier.com. It's, first of all, you get it for 50% off. Secondly, you get a free subscription to The Athletic. Get out of here with all of that. It's like $5.50 a month is what it comes out to be. And you go in the drawing for this. And I'm going to do this every month. But this is this month's drawing. Cool Adidas jacket. And if you bring, I'll tell you what, and if you bring in 3 other subscribers, you'll go into the drawing for the bag. Hey, I've got to take a break. Well, not yet, I guess. We'll wait a second. JD Campbell, he's all dogged up in the Cincinnati Reds uniform today, baby.
Going there Friday and Saturday.
What's going on in Cincinnati?
Well, I've got my brother. He's not my brother, he's my cousin, but we grew up together. He's looking to move to Franklin, Ohio, and they're coming to see their grandkids at Halloween, and then I'm going to get together at lunch with a lot of my former Northern Kentucky University folks that really helped me out early on in my career. So, and I haven't seen a lot of them in a long time. So it's going to be a fun days, and I'm going to be in a hotel Friday night to watch Game 6, regardless of whether the Blue Jays are ahead or the Dodgers are ahead.
Yeah, JD was the former SID at Indiana, but before that was at Northern Kentucky University. Was it the Norseman?
It was the Norseman and Lady Norse, and then it was just changed to Norse, and I was part of the eventual graphic design of that in terms of being part of a committee. And then also there was a lot of talk when I first got there in 1989 that NKU should be Division I. They've finally done that. And Darren Horn is a good friend of mine. Darren, of course, was part of Tom Crean's staff, and many times would come down and spend time here at Indiana, practice. Coaches are always like another set of eyes on what they're doing. And I know he was with us during our run in 2011 and 12. He was in Atlanta with us in the Sweet 16, and then came down a lot in 12-13. And during the break when we were doing the Big Ten Plus games, and there were no students around, I was able to give him an opportunity to do some play-by-play, and he turned that into a gig before he got back into coaching full-time. And they really love him there. NKU's been a terrific story in college basketball for the men. When I was there, the women were really good, and actually won the Division II championship in the late 90s.
Yeah, and a fun time that was, I'm sure, as you were coming up. But then moving on to Indiana, and then now we've got all kinds of the college athletics is just it's going every which way. But man, have you ever seen anything like the coaching? They're calling it the coaching carousel, but all the coaches that have been fired from so many major schools right now, there are 10 that have already happened. And we've still got almost half the season to go. with a lot of guys on the hot seat, whether it's at Kentucky or wherever. There are more coming, but this is going to create a huge vacuum
it's
because
hundreds. Well, the disappointing part of it to me, and it's the part that I think in my mind is unethical, is the fact that you're going to see a lot of coaches that are going to the postseason leave their team right after the Thanksgiving stuffing gets put in the refrigerator. And
but postseason, you mean the college football playoffs?
I'm
because
talking
there
about
is
all the. I'm talking
Lane
about all the
Kiffin is a
postseason.
coach that is in that position. He is the most wanted coach, but he's heading
again,
towards the CFP.
If you're in the CFP, I don't see. Again, the longer somebody sticks around, the more opportunity they have to sweeten the pot. But if someone has sold his team on, hey, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. It would be like, imagine a quarterback coming to coach and say, Coach, we got to a bowl game. I'm not playing. That's the era we're in. And that encompasses everything in college athletics right now that has really made it tough all the way around for everybody because, again, I'm fortunate to have some inside information on not anything with IU, but some other places. And you sit there and you listen to it and you're like, that's unbelievable. And I know I got in the profession in 1986, and that is the Stone Age. Coaches weren't fired mid-season. They may be on the hot seat and they may get fired at the end of the year. But now, again, athletic directors have unimaginable stress. And with all the other things coming around in athletics, it's just, it's unfortunate because, again, everything evolves. There wasn't this in 1986. There weren't opinions. There weren't voices. And people are making way more money in coaching than they were back then. But if you're going to make money, you got to take the beating. And that's always been the balance of what you try to say to counsel coaches that you worked with. But it's still unimaginable stress.
Yeah, and I mentioned a minute ago there is the Coach Act that a representative out in Washington is introduced, but I'm sure it's going to take a beating and some changes to get anything in there because it tries to limit these exorbitant coaches' salaries and buyouts. Right now,
they're not exorbitant, Jim. They're not exorbitant. They're not exorbitant.
The buyouts are. They're on the hook for $169 million right now this year.
Well, that's doing business. There's probably things that
I get it.
There's things at a university, not that much, but there are things the university has to pay for that if you really knew, you would say, God, wait, what? Well, that could have bought me 3 more tacos at Taco Bell. I'm just saying the university business, college business, professional sports, that's what they've put themselves in a position to where they had great ideas, but now all the reality hits. And when you're making decisions like that, you really have to not listen to what you want to hear, but listen to the people that say, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? And I'm not saying you have to make that decision, but that's, look at the gambling. nobody should be surprised. Nobody should be surprised by this.
I agree. And the NCAA had just stated they are going to allow athletes to bet on pro sports.
Well, I don't think it's just
there
athletes.
is
I think it's
but right now they've delayed that.
Well, they should.
Yes.
They should.
I don't think they should allow it
because the athletes are in again. Anyone involved in sports right now has a task where there are more people surrounding them than ever before. Ever. Look at the size of coaching staffs. Look at the size, hey, can I be this? You got, 6 or 8 graduate managers, analysts, video people. And the majority of them, everybody is really good, great people. But the more people you surround in other words, if you have to go out and meet donors and you have to go do this and you have to go do that, it's again, for every person you meet, every person you give your cell phone number to, multiply that by 10. Because people give out other people's cell phones number without you knowing. And it's something, again, that's why I kind of got indoctrinated into it when I was at Bowling Green, because that was the first time I ever worked anywhere where you could bet. And you had to be careful because there were people who called weekly and would say, hey, how's the team doing? Anybody hurt? Anybody this? Anybody that? And being a naive young guy, I was like, oh, doing okay. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, I said, this guy keeps calling me. What do you think? He goes, oh, he's trying to get gambling info. Because they bet. And betting right now is easier than ever. And that's why, Jim, and again, I have a wonderful relationship with you and all the other media that worked with. We weren't always on the same page, didn't always agree. But that's why, everybody wants, we want more access. We want to go to practice. We want to go do this. We want to do, yeah, okay. Well, if you're going to let people go to practice, if you're going to, take kids out to events, that's the risk you run. That's the risk you run. And so now you take it on the professional level. The only and again, nobody is devoid of having this happen to them. But if you've ever stayed at a hotel when an NFL team is there, you can't even breathe around that team. I know we had Crossroads Classic, and I think a team was playing the Colts on Sunday, and we were there, but we couldn't go anywhere at the J-Dub. That's where a lot of the NFL teams stayed. Couldn't go anywhere. But you look at baseball and basketball and anything else, those guys are on the road for a week. They're not sitting at their hotel. We saw Mark Sanchez. People go out. And when you go out, you run the risk of something happening. And so again, earlier on, each coach is different. Some will not let them leave their hotel room only to come down and eat meals or study film or do a walkthrough. And others, hey, go do what you want. And if they know you're not checking, you don't have somebody back, that happens. And so those professional athletes, they're not going to Bible study.
No. JD Campbell, former SID for Indiana, with us. We've got to take a quick break. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with all of that and more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing, or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. You've made it to the halfway point. It's all downhill from here. Jim Coyle with you as always. JD Campbell, former SID for Indiana University, with us. And man, I was looking at something, JD. Schools have to put out availability reports, and for both football and basketball. But for football, it's very important. Of course, this goes back to betting.
It's Pete Rozelle started it, and Pete Rozelle was a former SID.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
The reason why they did it is because they knew that people were contacting friends, contacts, whoever, of players. I mean, look, there's a reason why the betting industry is still alive, because it makes money, and they know how to get even the slightest edge. Okay? The slightest edge. And so, again, people believe, and again, it's different opinions. They believe it's right to put that out, that nobody's going to contact them. No. They're still contacting them. They're still finding a way. It could be a kid who lives in the apartment next door. It could be a girlfriend's father.
You're right. But the point is, people need to know one way or the other. And the fact that in the Big Ten, these don't have to be out until I think it's 2 hours before kickoff.
Yeah.
Well, hell, what's the point of that?
Because Big Ten information doesn't get leaked. No, not from the Big Ten. It doesn't get leaked. But
I understand. But what's the point of having an availability report 2 hours before kickoff?
Because a lot of decisions that people have to make is they're trying to be proactive. And I think that's a good thing. But if you believe that this helps things, you're mistaken. Because you can do anything in the world. People are still going to find out the information. I'll give you an example of things. And again, I'm, you can put the blame on me because I have to tell the networks and media or whatever. But when we were doing shoot-arounds at many places, we would not let the TV crew set up during our workout. We would not let them have their camera positions on the court. And it was my job to make sure that the cameras were not there. They were
Right.
They were
I mean,
up,
I understand they don't want the information out, but
no, Jim, you don't here. See, now I'm being cantankerous again, and that's not what I want. What I'm saying is, it's not just a gambling situation. It's a situation where the competitors and the coaches are so paranoid that something leaks and gets out, not just injuries, but maybe sets you run. Now, look, the opponent knows everything that you run. They just don't know the personnel that's going to run it. And, there's numerous times that we had to, or when these guys are working, and they're great people at the TV crews, all the people that pull the cables and do all that, they're just, I would send people to the press room and say, hey, you're going to have to go because coach only wants the producer, director, and the talent in. And it made their workday hard. And they would have to schedule their breaks, their lunches around it, and it could be frustrating. But that's college football, especially. I think those coaches are more paranoid than anything, and they should be, because any edge you have over your opponent can make the difference in winning and losing.
Yeah, the availability reports that I spoke about that have to be out. We also have seen coaches or teams kind of manipulate. It's become more and more something that's happening more and more. Utah was the recent example. Utah starting quarterback Devon Dampier progressed from questionable on Wednesday's report to probable on Friday before being removed from the final report 90 minutes before kickoff before the game. So this was the starting quarterback that they knew wasn't going to play, but they listed him as probable to play some mind games with the other team. I'm not sure that probably should, in all honesty, that should receive some attention from their conference for doing that, because
nobody should care.
But they do care, JD. They do care, and it's there for a reason. It's a rule that you have to do it. So when you purposely break that rule, you're not going by the letter of the law. At least not by
there is no letter of the law.
Well, I understand.
It's about perception, and what you want to create when you're a coach. You want to create doubt in the opponent's mind. I'll tell you perfectly.
But I'm talking about for the things that are required by conferences to do.
But they're not. But again, you could not put anybody down. And Bill Belichick was great at this. He manipulated the NFLs all the time. You can put
he
anything.
cheated in all the time.
Well,
it was caught cheating.
Yeah, and he's coaching college football now, so
and not doing a very good job of that either.
No. But what I'm saying here is that what you can do with this. Here was a situation I was put in. Social media was just starting to get big, and hey, take some pictures of our shoot around and do this and do that. And again, I made a million mistakes in my career.
Who doesn't? Who hasn't?
But I took a picture of the shoot around of a great shot. Well, there was a player sitting on the other side of the court in a walking boot. no one knew if he was going to play.
Yeah.
And that got posted. And so what I'm saying is, when we're talking about the access and things like that, I'm saying that the coaching profession and coaches, I could care less, but the coaches are all paranoid.
Oh, no doubt.
That information getting out, especially in football and basketball.
Oh, yes, they definitely would prefer no information go out at all, right up until game time. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, how many times when I was there, did our players come out for the opening warmups, and there's 10 to 15 media over there by the area that they come out with their little notes and whatever. So-and-so hasn't come out to shoot yet. So-and-so's dressed in sweats. That didn't exist 20 years ago.
No, sir. And it is here now, though, because there's so much writing on everything. Indiana now.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing, the coverage. The coverage is fantastic. And more people are involved in it. My wife reads Twitter all the time and comes and tells me, "Hey, did you hear this?" No, I'm too busy, doing other things. And it's not a criticism. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm analyzing. And you knew the rule about getting players' home numbers or getting parents' numbers. A lot of you, they give them to people when they're being recruited, and the coaches are ones that really want to know from the recruiting guys what they're hearing out there. And then they come here and it's like, oh, can't talk to them.
Yep. It's funny.
And again, just, I don't know if there is a right answer, but it's the reality of what it was. And now it's getting opened up more because of NIL, and you have more people that you want your student athletes and coaches to thank, and they should thank them. But with all that, like you remember the old Caravans baseball? Do you remember Pete Rose?
Oh yeah. The big red Caravan, baby.
I don't think that happens anymore.
No,
and it's not
IU does some way with the Hubers thing, and I know they're trying to.
When I first got here, we were in Chicago, we were in Fort Wayne, we were in South Bend, we were in Evansville, we were in Indianapolis. So at IU, it's gotten scaled back a little bit, but when I'm talking about professional sports, is those guys, they used to have donkey basketball games or Reds versus Bengals or
well, in the old days.
Yeah, but and I'm just talking about with more access, those and that's what's happened, and that's why everybody in the NBA, if you're following all that stuff, they're like, oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely. JD Campbell, appreciate you, my friend. It's been a fun day as always. Appreciate Dylan and Kyle as well for joining us. We look forward to seeing each and every one of you again. Without you, it wouldn't be necessary. It wouldn't be a reason for us to even be here. So appreciate each and every one of you greatly. Back tomorrow to do it again. Hope you're here with us. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.